The following podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is your number one source for the best deals on sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, and a whole lot more. Go to SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app and use promo code BLUESEATS for $20 off your first purchase. That's promo code BLUESEATS only at SeatGeek, the official ticketing partner of From the Blue Seats, a New York Rangers podcast. Let there be live. What's going on, Rangers fans? My name is Jimmy Fanizzi, and this is From the Blue Seats, a New York Rangers podcast presented by SeatGeek. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BlueSeats94 and use the hashtag BlueSeats to interact with us on any and all topics at hand. Also, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and on all audio platforms, and be sure to rate us 5 stars. It would mean the world to us. Ladies and gentlemen, round 2 is upon us. Rangers versus Hurricanes. This is a series that I think most of us were expecting, but some of us are still rather nervous about. But as you can see, if you are watching on YouTube, I am not alone today. I am joined by primarily a Rangers fan roundtable, with the exception of one Habs fan in the building. I've got Heath and Steve from the Pigeonhole podcast, and I've got Jeffrey from Mind Your Pucking Business. Heath and Steve, how's it going, fellas? Thank you guys so much for joining me. Steve, first time ever on the pod. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. Sorry I couldn't make the first one with the first round predictions. I'm a soccer dad now. I live in Arizona, so it was kind of tough to get those girls on skates. So a lot of field out there, though, so I got that done. But, hey, I'm happy to be here and talk hockey with some guys.
Hey, we're happy to have you, man. Heath, good to see you again, my boy, after the last time. How you doing?
Doing good. Good to be on again, and excited to get talking about the Rangers versus the Hurricanes.
Absolutely. And Jeff, you know it's always a pleasure to speak with you, my guy. How you doing?
Good. Excited to be here as always.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, let's not waste any more time and dive right into this series. If there weren't any Game 7s going on at the time of this episode for round 1, we would have been covering the entire second round, but unfortunately we have to restrict ourselves to Rangers versus Hurricanes, as this is a Rangers show, and yeah, that's pretty much that. But anyway, that's beside the point. Let's get into this series here, because, you know, Jeff, I'm going to start with you here, because you and I both shared similar feelings as it pertained to wanting to face the Hurricanes. This is the series that I was most nervous about, and I know you shared that as well. This Carolina team's good. They're really, really good, man. They're a lot more aggressive than last year. This Carolina team went to the Eastern Conference Final last year, and I think they have the potential to do it again. With the additions of Jake Gensel and Evgeny Kuznetsov, I mean, that just bolstered their roster tenfold. Sebastian Aho is looking really, really well. Freddie Anderson is playing some of the best hockey of his life right now, ever since coming back from blood clot issues. And also, just want to wish my best to Freddie Anderson. It really is amazing what he's able to do after what he went through. So I'm really, really happy to see him out there playing well and doing well for himself. But Jeff, I'm going to be honest here. I'm really nervous. I expect this to go 6, if not 7. What do you expect from the Rangers and Hurricanes this series? What is your big X factor?
Well, I'll take your first question first. I said the other day on NYPB, I cannot see this being a 5-game series or less either way. I mean, this just has 6 or 7 games written all over it. And then I think you get to Game 6 and you have a situation where you have one team playing desperate, and obviously they could easily win because they're playing more desperate, and you're at Game 7 in MSG 2 weeks from tonight. The X factor in the series, my prediction, we always do our series prediction on the show, and I said it's just you could flip flop either way, but to me, the most important position in hockey, obviously, is goaltending, and the Rangers have the advantage. So because of that, I'm going to take the Rangers in 7. And Igor has played really well. As you had kind of alluded to, this is the matchup I feared for this team all year. I mean, this is the one team I didn't want to play. They've only added Kuznetsov and Gensel. They've only gotten better throughout the year as well. And people are, enamored with the Rangers winning the President's Trophy. Carolina finished right behind them. I mean, they were almost equally as good. People forget that. So the winner of this series could very easily represent the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup. But I think the X factor, to answer your question, from a Ranger perspective, has to be Igor Shesterkin. And if it's not Igor Shesterkin, they're not winning the series.
I 100% agree with you there. I mean, I agree with you from the goaltending standpoint. Rangers definitely have the advantage, but something tells me, and Steve, I'm going to throw it to you here. My issue with the Rangers has always been, and I'll get Heath and Steve's picks in a little bit, and Jeff picked the Rangers in 7, which honestly would not surprise me at all. But Steve, I'm going to throw it to you here quick. My issue with this team, and has been for many years following this team my whole life, is shooting. They always try to go for the pretty pass, and sometimes it works, but other times it just makes you want to throw a pillow at the TV with how frustrating it can be when literally nobody is in your vicinity with a wide open chance. So I admire the enthusiasm, but can you get quality scoring chances? That's all I'm asking for in this series. Now, granted, the defense actually showed up. I was worried about their defense in the last series, even though the Capitals are not that great of a team to begin with. But defense showed up. Goaltending showed up. They actually scored. The one thing I would say is that penalties definitely have to be cleaned up, even though some were questionable. But Steve, what do you expect from both teams this series?
Bodies to the net is what's going to win this series. When you got two tendies that are playing out of their minds, you got to get in front of them. You can't take shots where they get good looks at it. Bodies to the net and rebounds. Get your big boys going to the net. And if that's not what's being preached, then you've got to question your coaches at this point. Because you're not going to beat either of these goalies on a clear shot. It's really not going to happen. Anderson's got that great big frame and can come across, right? So you've got it. You got to catch him. Shesterkin's just got to be on his game. And look, guys, flashback to last season, right? Igor going to the bench and chirping your boys, which you should have done. You got to go get me goals.
Yeah,
go get him goals. One thing I will tell you, and Goldie will jump on this part too. You got a better backup goalie. So one of the best
100%.
tandems in the league. So for some reason, and I don't think it's going to happen, but for some reason, if you have to rely on Quick for whatever reason, he's big game Quick in the playoffs. And look, you're catching that look for me because look, both ends. Habs fan going back in the days when you guys going toe to toe with us and Hank being Hank, but out in this direction, Quick with being quick, killing the coyotes, right? So you guys got a great tandem. Bodies have to go to the net. I think who's ever cleaning up the most garbage goals is going to win this. I don't, and I agree. This overpassing for the pretty goal, it's not going to beat these guys, right? On a power play, move that puck around, but still get bodies in net. Get that boy Rempe right out there. Get him parked and let him drive Anderson nuts. Let him drive that defense nuts. Get under their skin. That's how you guys are going to beat them. But prediction-wise for me, I'll just jump and get this out of the way. Rangers in 6.
Wow, Rangers in 6. I like it.
And look, I didn't miss many games in this year's playoffs. The Islanders just weren't there. They weren't enough competition for, I think Carolina had it a little easy, and I think they're going to run into a Rangers team with a lot of momentum going here. And look, at the Carolina, Hurricanes fans would have choked me. I agree with you guys. Great hockey team. But test Anderson early. See how his legs are doing. See how his mind's doing going into the second round.
Yeah, Heath, I'm going to throw it to you real quick. So both Jeffrey and Steve are saying Rangers. Steve says Rangers in 6. Jeff says Rangers in 7. But before I get to you with that prediction, Heath, and your thoughts on the series, I kind of wanted to jump into Jonathan Quick really, really quick because I said it in the last episode on my show where I did a round one recap. And I said specifically that I wanted to see Jonathan Quick get at least 1 or 2 games this postseason. This would be a perfect opportunity to do it because if you don't, what the hell did you sign him for? What did you sign him for? You signed a guy with championship pedigree, right? He's a 3-time Stanley Cup champion. He has the most wins by any American-born goalie in NHL history. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He's back next season. He signed a 1-year extension to come back. And I kept hearing rumors that it might be his last season. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But the bottom line is, if I'm the Rangers, as hot as Igor has been, I would consider maybe playing Jonathan Quick for a game or 2 and see if he's still got that playoff Johnny Quick in him. I'd do it. Heath, would you do it?
Yeah, I would. I think that if it gets, I think honestly, this is going to go 6 or 7. And I think that Igor may need a rest after game 2 or 3, especially with how many shots Carolina puts up on teams and how quick they are. I could see them doing it. A lot of teams around the league are doing it. You look at Boston. We have no idea who they're going to play tonight, I believe. So we have no idea. You really don't. This is a new league where 1A, 1B is kind of the new thing. You don't know who's going to start most nights. It's Igor's net. At the end of the day, it's Igor's net to lose. Yeah, I would love to see Jonathan Quick play a few games in this postseason. Will they do it? I don't know. If Igor struggles maybe in game 1 or 2, they still plow wins. Maybe they give him game 3 off. It also depends on, hey, is Igor 100%? Is he, 95%? How's he feeling mentally, physically? He gives a few soft goals, but they still end up pulling out a win. Maybe you give him a rest. Hey, you're giving up a couple soft goals. Let's get you a day to work with our goalie coach. They did that at the middle of the year, and look at how he's been ever since. So, yes, I could see them doing it. Long run, maybe not. If Igor is still playing in the 900s, high 900s, and getting shutouts, and the way he played in the first round, I don't see why you'd change that. Everyone knows that I'm a big Jonathan Quick fan. I'd love to see him play, but I got to go with Igor here. I think Igor's the guy. And honestly, to go back to Steve's point here, you do have Quick just in case if something happens. We look at what happened with Vancouver. They played Demko game 1, and now they're on their third string. So you gotta, to go back to your point too, you gotta have a good backup. Halak was there last year. He wasn't the best. I think every Ranger fan could say that. He was inconsistent. There's a reason they didn't bring him back in any way, shape, or form, and there's a reason why he's not playing hockey right now anywhere. Yeah, I think it's going to be Rangers. I think the Rangers are going to pull this out. I think Carolina was actually kind of tested by the Islanders, even though they pulled out that series in 5. I think that Carolina is not as great of a hockey team as everyone thinks they are. I think they play, if they're hit early and often, they lose their game entirely. That's just their kind of style. I think bodies get into the net. Same thing that Steve said. I think getting bodies to the net. I think Rempe is going to be a huge X factor in this series. If he can stay healthy for 1, for 2, and stay out of the box, this is going to be Rangers in even 5 or 6. I honestly, the Rangers are just watching them all year and watching Carolina all year. They're 2 very, very evenly matched teams, but I think that the Rangers could pull out 2 in a row here to start off the series. And once you get down 2-0, it's hard to come back from that, especially against a team like the Rangers. If you got a hot goalie like a Shesterkin in net, that's just my opinion on it. And as much as I'd love to see Quick play, and as much as I'd love to see him get a few games, I really do think it's Igor's show. I think that Quick just being on the Knights last year, I think won them the cup.
Yes.
You talk about you really, every one of those goalies, even this year, goes back to what they learned about from Jonathan Quick last year. He's the ultimate team guy, ultimate guy to go to when you need some advice. Hey, I'm struggling in these areas. He's been there. Every time he's been to the Stanley Cup final, he's won it. So he's 3 for 3 in the Stanley Cup final. So yeah, I think that he is clutch, Jonathan Quick. But yeah, I could see them maybe rolling with him, maybe one game. But I would have to be something where Igor's not 100%.
The chase for the Stanley Cup is on, and if you're looking to light the lamp, nothing beats the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. From playoff beards all the way to the hoisting of the cup, DraftKings has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. I see that the Boston Bruins are at plus 1,100 right now to win the cup. I picked them before the season started, so I will ride with the Boston Bruins, but that's just me. What you want to bet on is up to you. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code THPN only at DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boo Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/hockey terms for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved.
No, that's fair enough. Jeff, before I make my pick, what about you? Would you want to see Jonathan Quick in a game or two in this series?
Absolutely not. This is
No, really?
What are we? What? Why in the world, if Igor Shesterkin was up in a series and playing well, would we rest him? This is what he's here for. If they have to go to Jonathan Quick in this series, one of two things has happened, and it's not good. Either Igor Shesterkin is hurt, or they're down bad in the series and they're trying to find a spark. So I don't really see any situation where if I saw Jonathan Quick, I would be happy. I don't want to see Jonathan Quick at all. Yes, he's a great backup. Yes, he has a Stanley Cup experience, but he's also older now, and he's 1B if you want to go there. But I also would look at him as a 2, not 1B. I don't want to see Jonathan Quick because if I'm seeing Jonathan Quick, something's wrong with Igor, and that is, like I said before, the X factor. I don't want to see Jonathan Quick. I like that he's there as a comfort if I needed a backup. But seeing Jonathan Quick, Igor doesn't need to rest. This is the playoffs now. Let's go.
That's a fair point you make. Look, you can call me crazy for saying it, but at least one game, me personally, I would like to see it. But that's just me. It's just my opinion.
But don't you worry if let's say you Igor had 2 really good games and they were up 2-0. And in the way you're talking, okay, we're going to give Igor a night off. All you're doing is you're giving momentum back. You're giving the other team momentum while you're hot. That's not playing the hot goalie.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, going off. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going off the other points, right? So,
yeah,
you eventually may see in the NHL, the 1A 1B thing that Boston's doing because of any position that you're on that ice, I don't care. The playoff hockey is the toughest thing in the world. Right. The Stanley Cup. I don't care, what sport you're putting up against. It's brutal, right? It's absolutely brutal. And tendies take a beating in these playoffs. So I think eventually you're going to get down that road. But I agree. Like the one thing, I'm a former tendie, so is Heath. I don't want somebody taking that net away from me. Swayman loves Allmark. You saw what Swayman said. I want to be between these pipes. So if Shesterkin's on his game, and these guys, they play hurt. The only way he's not going in, is he's got a major injury. And I agree, totally there with, Jeff, is that when you see the other guy go in, you go, shoot, what's going on with the other guy, right? Even if he has a little bit of an off night, you don't want to screw with a goalie's confidence. Throw him back in there. Now, 2 soft games in a row, then you've got to make the switch. And I agree with Jeff again. Like, okay, now you need that spark. Now you need to do something. But Igor's found it, and the way you find it now in the NHL is having that good goaltender in the back that when you're just not on your game, he's got you. So, I don't think you see Quick either, unless that spark has to be lit.
No, listen, I'll let you go, Heath. I apologize. I don't think.
No, you're good.
I don't think you see him either. But would I like to? There's a difference there. Yeah. Would I like to? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't. But go ahead, Heath. I apologize.
Yeah, no, you're good. And going back to Jeff's point, yeah, I do agree. Igor's here to play games, right? He's the starter. He's the number one, clearly. I think there is a 1A, 1B in New York. I think that what Jonathan Quick did this year, coming off of arguably his worst year in his career, is absolutely insane. And if you're not praising Jonathan Quick for the place that the Rangers are in right now, there's something wrong with you, and you need to seriously take a look in the mirror.
People thought he was done. People thought he was done.
No. Yeah, no. People thought he was done, and honestly, the Rangers are not the President's Trophy winners if Jonathan Quick is not your backup. So,
thank you. Thank you.
I mean, he just saying, the games he won were clutch games. They weren't soft games. Igor went down for a little bit there, and then had confidence issues for a while. So, I mean, without Quick being there, the Rangers are not even. Maybe they're a wild card this year. I mean, just with the way that you could kind of bounce between the two goalies. Keeping Igor fresh all year, I think that really helped him in the playoffs so far. But no, I do agree with Jeff. If you do see Jonathan Quick, there's a problem with Igor. Now, if Igor plays game 1 and game 2, gets wins, and is way in like I'd say 850 or below, yes, you see Jonathan Quick game 3. I think 100% you see Jonathan Quick game 3 just to give Igor that rest. It's first game on the road. You let Igor work with the goalie coach a little bit, fix those little key mistakes. And I'll bounce us back to Steve here. We're goalies. We go through little slumps. If there's an issue and your goalie coach sees it, hey, we need to work with him extra today. Quick's going in tonight. That needs to happen, because if you go all series, all of a sudden you're in a game 7 and you give up a soft goal and the Rangers Nation turns on him. I would much rather be game 7, have an Igor Shesterkin that's confident because he's not giving up soft goals, than have him play all the way through the entire series, not work on what he needs to work on if he's got a little minute detail he's got to fix, and then the Rangers are probably out of the playoffs. So, I mean, just coming from a goaltending standpoint, bringing that to the viewers here, it's a completely different beast. Yes, we want the net every single night. Yes, we expect the net every single night. And Jonathan Quick expects the net every single night. That's the way you prepare. But I think the only way you see Jonathan Quick in a game 3 or game 4, I don't think you see him in game 1 or game 2. I think you see him either game 3 or game 4 is if you're up 2-0 in the series or you're down 2-0 in the series. You're not seeing him 1-1 in the series, unless there's an injury. So, that's just my opinion on it. As much as I'd love to see him in there, I think that there will be a game where he comes in relief in the playoffs, maybe, because the Rangers aren't going to continue to dominate every single playoff round.
Probably
like
not.
they did in
No,
the first.
probably not.
Probably not.
Guys, the Eastern Conference is sort of cut you off. Like last year, I thought Florida didn't have a chance because that was grueling. They killed each other, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
It was brutal. So the best thing for the Rangers here is to close them out early. Like, empty the tank early on these guys. Try to get, like, it's tough when I say this. Try to get that sweep so you can get the rest. So you're not having to go that game 7, because the deeper it goes for some of these teams, those Florida Panthers are a scary hockey team coming on up too. And you want to be ready for them. Like, that's a motivated hockey team. And like, look,
absolutely.
Like, again, I've watched your Rangers all year long. You need everybody to bring their game. But my question right now, for you, Jimmy, is how come you don't got a breadman haircut? Because it's working for them.
The day I go bald is the day I die. You will never ever see me go bald, ever. But no, listen. That's kind of where I wanted to go next, and I'm going to throw it to Jeff here real quick. If the Rangers somehow go up 2-0 in the series, then I think they have a legitimate chance to end this series in 6 games. But if the series is tied 1-1, which I think most of us kind of expect, it's going to be a 50-50 series regardless. But I think if you go into Carolina 1-1, I think advantage goes to Carolina here. What do you think?
Well, it does. They would have home ice. So, I mean, you'd have to think so. But as we talked about this week on the show, the Rangers, I mean, look, go back 2 years ago. They won Game 7 in Carolina. So you can't tell me that the Rangers can't win in Carolina. They won 1-0 there in March. But the flip side can be true also. The Rangers, had two really terrible games this year, a December game in Washington and a January game at home versus Carolina where the Rangers got run out of the Garden. I mean, it was 5-1. So either team can win on the road. I would agree with what you said earlier, and I said this to someone today. In my mind, I think they're going to split the first two in the Garden. You'd love to go up 2-0. But I will say this, if they lose tomorrow, which is possible, right? Vegas has the game as a pick'em if we want to get into odds. Then the pressure is on the Rangers in game 2. You cannot go down 2-0 against Carolina.
No.
You can argue with me that the Devils were down 2-0 versus the Rangers last year and came back, and that was true. However, the Rangers were a mess, and this is not a Carolina team that you can beat 4 out of 5 times. So you either got to get a split at MSG, and I'm fine if they do.
Yep.
Or they need to get both wins. You cannot lose, but you cannot go down 2-0 versus team. Carolina's too good.
No, if they lose both games at MSG, they are in a world of trouble. Absolutely, Jeff. I 100% agree with you. Go ahead, Heath, before we wrap things up here and I make my pick.
I think Jeff's onto something there. I think that if you're down 2-0 coming out of that, I think that you got your back against the wall a little bit. It's not panic time. We've seen, Vegas went up 2-0 in the series, and now they're in a game 7 tomorrow when the Rangers play also. So, I mean, you're not out of it, but with a team like Carolina, it's going to be tough to climb out of that hole. You put yourself in a hole. Do I see that happening? No. I actually see the Rangers winning both games at MSG. So I see them coming out 2-0. I see them going up 3-0 in the series, and then Carolina finding their game in game 5. Game 4 and game 5, and then pushing it to a game 6. Game 6 is going to be Rangers. That's why I said 5 or 6. I mean, just my opinion on the situation, but I could see it very well going that way, especially with what we've seen in the playoffs so far. Teams we didn't think were going to win are winning, and goaltenders go down, and you're like, oh no, they're done, and all of a sudden they're winning. So winning with your third string goalie. So, I mean, it's a playoffs. Anything can happen. Anybody can win. It's why we play the games, right? It's why we're fans. Anything can happen. Anyone, any year can win. Going back to Steve's point, Florida made it to the Stanley Cup final last year. They were a wild card, I believe. So, so it's playoff hockey, and that's why we all love it. And fortunate for us, we had a really good regular season to watch as well. Some of these other teams did not have that great of a regular season. So, we were very fortunate in that aspect. But no, I do agree. I think that it will go 5 or 6. I could see it even going 7, but it all depends on who wins game 1. In my eyes, I think that game 1 is going to be a crucial game. It's going to be a feel-out process for the first 5 to 10 minutes, and then we're going to go from there.
So bottom line is, Heath, you have the Rangers winning this series. Steve, you said Rangers in
6.
Jeffrey, you said Rangers in
7.
Okay, so now to wrap things up, I'm going to give my official pick here. Listen, I think this series is 50-50. I definitely see this going 7. Now, my thing is that, again, for Carolina, if they can keep doing what they're doing, they're going to have no issues. Although they did get tested against the Islanders, which somebody brought up a good point here about that. They got tested very well against the Islanders, despite them winning in 5 games. They got tested. And that does worry me if I'm a Carolina Hurricanes fan. So, got to get that fixed. But if I'm the Rangers, again, the discipline department has to be cleaned up. You cannot go into this series taking as many penalties as you did against the Capitals, especially in Game 3 where you took 6 penalties. Granted, you were 6 for 6 on the penalty kill. Special teams was dominant. I will give you that. But can we not have special teams be the only factor as to why you potentially could beat Carolina? You got to do something 5-on-5 here. That's my thing about it. Discipline department's got to be cleaned up. You got to keep helping out Chesty, keep blocking shots, and for the love of all things holy, shoot the damn puck. And that is why, unfortunately, fellas, I can't do it. Carolina in 6. I'm sorry. I just can't see a scenario where we have this. I can't do it. I can't. Now, look, I would love nothing more than to be wrong. If I am wrong, I will be the happiest camper on planet Earth. But this Carolina team really scares me so much, man.
Jimmy,
I mean,
did you just see Goldie's heartbreak when you said that? I felt part of his soul leave his body. You can rewind that. You got the video clip of it right there. It's half his soul's gone, buddy.
Yeah, dude. I see where you're coming from. It is a scary series, but I think if Carolina pulls this out, it's in 7. I think given it to
yes.
Yeah.
Again, I can see it going 7. No question about it. Either 6 or 7. I say 6 games, but if it goes 7, I would not be surprised at all. But again, I still need to see more from this Ranger team. I need to see more. I need to see them do what they did against Washington. Again, if I see improvements in shots and on defense, and if I see Igor keep doing what he's doing, then hey, I'm wrong. But for now, I'm sorry. Carolina's taking this series and they're taking it in 6. I hate to do it. I know I'm going to get eviscerated, but I do not care. It's called being truthful. Look, I'm a Ranger fan till the day I die. But there comes a point where you have to be truthful about your team and say, look, giving them a chance in this series. They have a chance. But against this Carolina team that's much more improved than last year's team, that scares me. I'm sorry, but I can't do it. Carolina.
Here's the one thing I'll say to you, Jimmy, that's interesting, right? So the Islanders made almost no changes to their lineup, right? And like I said, I think they pushed Carolina a bit, but the reason why the Islanders didn't do it because is how deep this Eastern Conference is, right? It's a deep conference. So the Rangers didn't make many additions either because they didn't have to. And there's that thing when you've got the chemistry and it's working, you don't mess with it. And sometimes you bring guys in, sometimes they make a huge impact, but lots of times, it just doesn't pan out. So the only thing that I'm saying is with the minimal amount of tweaking that you guys did to your roster, these guys did really good all year long, right? And you're going to have a team that's a high-flying team that can catch you off guard. But this is, it's playoff hockey. It's different, right? I'm going to throw this back at you. Who has the physical edge in this series?
The Rangers.
Okay. That's what this is going to, I agree. You got to stay out of the box because that's a good sketing team.
Especially Matt Rempe, who's been taking way too many of the penalties.
Yeah, but he's got to keep. Yeah, but he's got to keep. Yeah, keep the dumb penalties down, but stay physical. Go hard to that net, and that's what needs to happen. You guys have a good physical team. Wear them down. If I'm them, I'm playing the first 2 periods of the most boring hockey in the world. Dump, chase, smash. Dump, chase, smash, and then gear it on up. That's how I was running.
Smash mouth hockey. That's how you're gonna.
It's like smash mouth hockey. There you go.
That's how you're gonna win this series. And honestly, I think that Carolina is a very good team, but they just shut down Alex Ovechkin for 0 points and basically like 4 shots on goal in 4 games, where he went 3 games without a shot.
To begin with, though, when Ovi had a bad season.
But I mean, Ovi in the playoffs. I mean, he was the system that they were playing to guard him. It was great. So I mean, if you could find that system for the other players on Carolina, it's going to be harder because there's not just one.
Exactly.
There's multiple.
My point. Exactly.
But they were able to do it with one of the best guys on the power play ever. So. Let's just see how this thing plays out. I think it's going to be a great series either way. I think that, the Rangers are going to put up a fight. I don't see this going less than 5-6 games. I say 5 because you never know what could happen in playoff hockey. We'll all say 7 and it'll end up being a sweep. So, I'm going to keep it to 5 or 6. So, but I do see where you're coming from with that. 100%.
This ain't gonna be no sweep, I can tell you that. But no, listen,
no,
it's gonna be a great series. I'm expecting a dogfight, but hey, I'm of the minority, and you know what? I can take the heat. that is going to wrap it up for us here on From the Blue Seats, a New York Rangers podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this content, make sure that you smash that like button on YouTube and also subscribe on YouTube and hit that bell so you stay notified of every single video. Also, make sure you subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on all audio platforms. And be sure to rate us 5 stars. It would mean the world to us. And make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BlueSeats94 and use hashtag BlueSeats to interact with us. What is your prediction for this series? And do you think the Rangers can actually pull it out? Prove me wrong, Rangers. Prove me wrong. But fellas, this was such a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Steve, it was very nice to meet you, and I can't wait to do it with you guys again very, very soon. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Anytime, guys. Go subscribe, by the way, to the Pigeonhole podcast. These guys do fantastic stuff, and I know Jeffrey had to bulk because he's got some stuff to take care of, but go subscribe to Mind Your Pucking Business as well. Those fellas do a fantastic job covering all things New York Rangers. They also do some NFL stuff once in a while, which I think is very, very interesting stuff. But fellas, since you're still on to, why don't you tell everybody how they can find your show and find you guys on social media?
Yeah, I'll take this one, Steve. You can follow us at PHH Official Podcast. We're on Spotify. We're even on we're on Instagram, Spotify, Apple. We're on YouTube now. We're starting to make YouTube videos and have those come out. We're on X. We're on Threads. We're on basically every social media you could think of, even TikTok. So as long as that's still here. So yeah, go ahead and shoot us a follow there. And then we put out usually weekly episodes about junior hockey. We're getting into some college hockey and stuff like that in the coming weeks here. So it's going to be a good listen. So that's for sure.
I can guarantee it'll be a good listen because I've been listening to you guys for a little while, and you guys are great at what you do. Despite the fact that Steve's a Habs fan, he's cool. I like him. Oh, no, listen. In all seriousness, though,
That's all right. I can take it. I can take it.
No, but seriously, you guys are awesome. I'd love to have you back on again for a possible conference finals preview episode. Regardless if the Rangers get there or not, I'll be doing one anyway. But let's see what happens when we get there. But round 2 is officially underway. And please, again, prove me wrong. Let's go, Rangers. For Jeffrey, for Heath, and for Steve, my name is Jimmy. This is From the Blue Seats, a New York Rangers podcast. Go Blue Shirts, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.